Time now for my After Five guest. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Right Said Fred. How are you guys? All right?
We're good, thank you.
Yeah, we're fine. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Okay, that's Fred and Richard Fairbrass. I think of Fred at the moment. Do I get Fred? Yeah?
You got both of us.
I got both of you. All right, you can both hear me. Can you hear? Great. Okay, lovely. So the new single is We Are All Criminals.
We're all criminals, yep.
Yeah, a bit of a protest song, would you say?
Not really. No, it's more just a bit of a comment, really, on the ridiculous situation a lot of people find themselves in. The idea being that the more ludicrous the rules get, the more chance there is of us breaking them, turning us all into criminals.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a song about standing up for your rights and civil liberties and things like that.
We've sort of done this before because I'm Too Sexy was a sort of comment.
Yeah.
And so too was Stand Up for the Champions and I'm a Celebrity. So we've done this kind of thing before. And We're All Criminals is a comment rather than it's not a preachy thing. It's just a kind of description of where we currently are today, I think.
So it's a kind of tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff, Richard, yeah?
Sort of, yeah. We didn't want to be gloomy, you know. I mean, things are gloomy enough as they are without people like us making it even more so. So we try to say what we think and what we see without it sounding depressing. Yeah.
Now, we played Too Sexy right at the start, right at the beginning of the programme. An incredible 30 million sales of that. I must be really proud of that record.
Yeah, it's 30 million sales of our total catalogue, not just of that one song.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, right.
Yeah, no, we are very proud. I mean, Sexy's been incredibly good to us over the years, particularly with usage in films and commercials, which is, we've been very fortunate.
Yeah, was that your debut number one in the USA? Was that the one?
Yes, that was number one in America, and I think as a debut single, we're the second band after the Beatles to achieve that.
Wow, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And again, I said there was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. I think it was written about people in the gym, wasn't it? All the muscle men, yeah?
Not really, no. It was more so we'd been living in New York a couple of years before, which was very hedonistic and lots of narcissism going on. So it was about that. It was about the supermodels. It was about the me, myself, and I sort of culture. And so we were making fun of them.
Yes, it was. And Fred, my brother, was going out with a model at the time.
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
So we had plenty of material to draw on. Yeah.
Right, I see it with you. Okay. Now, those songs, those early songs, they were written by both of you, were they?
Yes, and Rob Manzoli. There was three of us, and Rich and I. We quite often team up with other people to write on the newer stuff we haven't. We're All Criminals is a co-write with someone else, but a lot of the other stuff we're doing at the moment is just the two of us. So it depends what. It just depends who's available and what we're in the mood to do.
Sometimes working with other people can be tricky. Particularly if you get management and publishers and record companies involved and all that. So it is actually simpler for us to work just the two of us a lot of the time. So unless something comes up and it feels really natural, we tend to just work alone. So
do you sort of, one writes the words, one writes the music, or is it sort of a joint kind of thing?
Fred writes 90% of the lyric.
Yeah.
And we both do the music, pretty much. I mean,
we write around quite often bass riffs and guitar riffs or little chord ideas. The lyrics tend to come second, but not always.
Right, okay. Because, I mean, what I was getting at there was that the brass on Deeply Dippy is incredible. I love that brass work on Deeply Dippy. Was that something you came up with?
When we did a TV show in America, we had the Tower of Power who were doing the brass section for us on that TV show. And they came up to us afterwards and they said it was the best piece of brass arrangement they'd seen for a long time. So, and that was Molly Duncan, who sadly passed away about 2 years ago.
Yes, the arrangement is fantastic.
The arrangement is fantastic, and it's from our point of view, when we first heard it in the control room on the big speakers, it was blinding. It was fantastic.
Yeah, for somebody like me who loves a bit of brass work, it really makes your ears pick up, and the hairs at the back of your neck pick up as well. It really is a beautiful piece, that is. Yeah, great stuff.
Yes,
it's a great piece. Yeah.
You just have to be careful how you use it. You can sound a bit show busy if you're not careful. You can sound a bit sort of jazz hands. One artist who knew how to use brass really well, I think, was Bowie. He used to use brass really cleverly. So you just have to be a bit, cognizant of the fact that it can be a bit picture show right hand,
Yeah, I mean, even Bowie did saxophone brilliantly as well, doesn't he? That sort of stuff, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Bowie used to use a lot of. It seems to me he used to use a lot of sort of low end sax for bass end stuff. But it's when you get to the top end. But then if you listen to sort of Sinatra stuff, a lot of those guys, Billy May, and all those arrangers, they could arrange brass really well without it sounding cheesy. And that's a real skill to be able to do that.
Right.
Steely Dan are a good example too of the people Tom Scott, the people they used. It's a real skill there.
So, if you don't mind me saying, a lot of you guys haven't been really sort of charting a lot, but you haven't stopped working. You seem to be working everywhere, all over the world, really, haven't you?
Yes. Well, we I mean, to be honest with you, now I think having a hit record like we had when we had the hit with Taylor Swift a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a big record, but quite often, in terms of running a business, you're better off having a song in a movie than you are having a song in the charts, because of the amount of money it can cost getting the record into the charts, because you have to pay promoters. So getting into the charts can be quite an expensive business. So for an independent band like us, it's much better to have a song in a movie or a commercial in terms of financial reward. In terms of your ego, it's better to have it in the charts. But we've been playing, we've toured a lot, and we've been playing a lot for a long time. And we were persona non grata in the UK for quite a long time. So we just took ourselves abroad, and fortunately Germany and Canada and loads of other places were very supportive.
Yeah, and also the business has changed a lot. So when we started, it was all about chart position. I mean, everything was about Top of the Pops. It was all about chart position and album sales and single sales and stuff. And of course now, the music industry and the way people stream music and access music is so completely different. I think Kate Bush, they asked Kate Bush a few years ago when she released that album some years ago, about chart positions. She said, "I don't care about chart position. What I care about is usage." I'm pretty sure she said that. So, and I think that's as Fred says, that's a large part of where the money is now for artists, which is why a lot of artists broaden their scope. They either do headphones, or they do perfume, or they do whatever it is, because sales are so patchy, and the cost of hiring pluggers and traveling around and promote. You can't promote these days. I mean, it's illegal anyway. So artists have to think out the box, which is what we're trying to do.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Great stuff. I mean, you mentioned that the Taylor Swift track. Look what you've made me do. How did that come about?
We had a phone call from our publisher, and they just said the term is interpolation, which is sort of when someone borrows a bit of your song, which is like your song but not your song.
Sampling.
Sorry?
Sampling?
No, it's not a sample. No, it's very different. It's copying an element of the song. So it could be a rhythm, it could be a meter of the melody, and it infringes on the copyright. So our publisher phoned up and said, Taylor Swift's been in touch, and they want to talk about I'm Too Sexy. And so the meter of I'm Too Sexy and Look What You Made Me Do is pretty identical. So that's how that came about. And the same thing happened with there's a New York electronica duo called Sophie Tucker, and they had a song, and that was the same thing happened with them. So sex is just a big part of sort of pop music, and so it does it influences a lot of different artists.
That's absolutely brilliant, Fred. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And was there a Royal Command performance for the Queen? Was it when you performed in front of the Queen?
Yes, we were.
It was. Yeah. Well, we've got some pictures at home, and the Queen looks like a young woman.
It's a while ago now.
It's a while ago now. Yeah.
It's not long ago.
The weirdest thing about that I remember was there was no security when we walked into the building. No, we walked in with a whole load of cases and equipment and bits and pieces, and not one person checked us at all.
Where was that, Richard?
Sorry?
Where was the command performance that year?
Dominion, I think, in London.
Dominion, right? Okay, I know it. Yeah.
I think it was the Dominion. But either way, all I do know is that, given the fact that the Queen was going to be there later in the evening, you would think there would be sniffer dogs and everything all over the place, which I'm sure there would be now.
Oh yes.
Back in the day,
yeah.
There was nothing. No.
I know not a lot of people know, but you've won 3 BMI awards as well, haven't you? That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, we won 3 BMI and 2 Ivor Novello. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know. I think with some artists your face fits, and with some artists your face doesn't.
Yeah.
I think there are some some artists over here that have a bit of a struggle, and some artists who are just the favourite for some inexplicable reason, and they get a pretty easy ride. So I've never quite understood that, and it was a bit of a shock when we first started to find out that when you, like most artists do, I guess, you find out who your friends are, and you just have to make a decision. And we just decided that we would just keep going and doing what we do, and hope that people like it. You can't, and not. We weren't very good at playing the game, I don't think, and we're much happier when we just get on with music. And but of course now, live, anything live is out the window. So we're concentrating on working in the studio and songwriting, and we've got a couple of movies on the go. So that's what we're about right now.
But you must miss it, Richard. You must miss being live, yeah?
Sorry?
You must miss being live, doing live stuff.
The live thing. Well, I mean, we're lucky because we write. Any artist that writes gets their PRS, and they get their check from the publisher and blah blah blah. But there are loads and loads of artists, hundreds and thousands of artists all over the country and millions throughout the world who only get paid when they play. And for them, this has been an absolute disaster.
And the crew as well.
Oh, yeah.
Crew and tech.
Yeah, absolute disaster, yeah.
Catering and flying. And
disastrous, yeah.
it's really, aside from taking a country to war on a false prospectus, I can't think of anything worse.
No, you're absolutely right. Talking about using stuff in in adverts and music, I was talking to a guy, Andy, from Modern Romance a couple of weeks ago, and the best years of our life was the track that was used in Shrek, and he said it was incredible. That sort of brought us back into favoritism again.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yes, yeah. I think I'm Too Sexy was in Shrek as well, the
Yeah.
early ones.
Yeah.
And, I think when you get a song in a big movie, it helps a lot.
Or another artist, wasn't it Eminem that sampled Dido?
Yeah, if an artist picks up another, exactly.
Yeah.
And with Jay-Z, when one of Jay-Z's songs, "The Ruler's Back," he gives us a name check in "The Ruler's Back," and little things like that keep the band alive. And I hate the word relevant because it's irrelevant. But when people like Jay-Z give you a nod, or like Prince did with us, or Madonna, then those things do actually make a difference to some people.
Yeah, it's important just to keep reminding people that you're still alive.
Yes.
Yeah, you're still there.
I'm
absolutely brilliant. You're here to talk to me, absolutely wonderful. And this thing of a basement studio in Acton in London, is that where you kind of started working on recording, that sort of stuff?
That's where we did Sexy.
That's where we started with Sexy.
Yeah, that was the first time we worked with a guy who was programming. And then I'm Too Sexy was recorded in another studio in Ealing and finished off at Red Bus in London. But the very first demo of Sexy was done in that basement, yeah.
Yeah, and then when we went to Ealing, we had no money, so we got the studio when it was dark, as they say. In other words, when it was out of hours.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, and it was absolutely bitterly. I mean, the heating was off, everything was off, apart from obviously the desk. And I remember those sessions really well. I think we got there sort of 10 o'clock at night and went through till about 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we finished off at Red Bus. But yeah, the actual sort of meat and potatoes of Sexy began in the basement in Acton, yeah.
Yeah, I remember talking to Herbie Flowers, who was in Blue Mink and in the 70s, and he was talking about that's how Melting Pot was done in the studio after hours, and that's how that started, yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of bands do.
Yeah, I mean, it's very often bands, that's the thing with people who aren't artists don't understand, I don't think, how artists have come up the hard way, are very used to not being listened to and not being heard. So, working in a studio after hours it's kind of familiar territory for most of us. We don't get, I've lost any kind of, instinct to get irate about stuff like that. It's just part of the course. It's just what it is, But, I mean, in the early days, when you haven't got any money, you have to just take the session, whatever sessions you can get. And if the studio's dark and it's cold, you just have to suck it up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Well, guys, I'm absolutely honoured to speak to you today. It's been a brilliant interview with you. That's Fred and Richard Fairbrass, my After Five guests today. And right said, Fred. And tell you what, thanks so much, guys, for being my guest this afternoon. And we're going to play "We Are All Criminals."
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're all criminals. There was a time when you could speak your mind down my street. Now that's all gone, 'cause there's something wrong down my street. It's all signs and parking fines and cameras in your face. I don't recognize this place. Oh, it's a bloody disgrace. Can't work, can't play, can't leave, can't stay. We're all criminals. Can't kiss, can't hug, can't dance, can't love. We're all criminals. Hey. We're all criminals. Hey. We're all criminals. Hey. There was a time when there was peace of mind down my street. Now you can break the law before you're out the door down my street. It's all a sham, they don't give a damn. They'll twist the words we talk, and then you'll find yourself in court if they don't like your sort. Can't work, can't play, can't leave, can't stay. We're all criminals. Can't kiss, can't hug, can't dance, can't love. We're all criminals.
That's a brilliant new single from Right Said Fred, and we're all criminals. Hey, love it, love it. No, it's not Kelly Minogue.